Now we want to take a minute to appreciate an Eagle Scout who delivered on the promise of his scouting experience through a lifetime of work. To present the Council's Eagle Scout Alumnus of the Year Award, please welcome Council Board Member and Chief Financial Officer for the Keith Corporation, Ken Bewley.
Josiah, what an honor, what an incredible achievement. I think you should be very proud to join the ranks of the distinguished Eagle Scouts that have come before you. 70 years ago, in January of 1948, a young man stood with his parents in Greenwood, South Carolina, and took the Eagle Charge, the same one that Josiah took just months ago. And I want to read an excerpt of this Eagle Charge because I think it's important. You are a marked man. As an Eagle Scout, you have assumed a solemn obligation to do your duty to God, to country, to your fellow Scouts, and to mankind in general. This is a great undertaking. Graeme Keith is receiving the Mecklenburg County Council's Eagle Scout Alumni of the Year Award tonight because he has unequivocally met and exceeded that Eagle Charge throughout his life. I personally have had the pleasure of working with Graeme for the last 26 years at the Keith Corporation, a real estate company that he and his son founded 30 years ago. Graeme graduated from Davidson College and then joined the United States Army as an artillery officer. After his military service, Graeme had a long and distinguished career in banking, eventually becoming the CEO of Barclays American Bank. During that career, he met another young man, a man named Billy Graeme, who would become his good friend. Graeme Keith would eventually become the chairman of the Billy Graham Evangelistic Association, where he still serves as a director. He is also on the board of Samaritan's Purse. If you have an opportunity to drive out to the Billy Graham Parkway, you will visit the museum and see the headquarters. That is no small measure because of Graeme's efforts. He worked tirelessly to help bring the headquarters to Charlotte and then create the museum. I hope you all, if you haven't been there, you need to go out there. It's hard to walk through the halls with Graeme without being stopped every 5 minutes by one of the Billy Graham employees. Graeme was also the first chairman of the Communities and Schools in North Carolina. That was a program that began in North Carolina and has become a national program. In 2017, Communities and Schools served 162,000 students across the United States, providing supplies, mentoring, and support for at-risk students. Graeme is a former chairman of the United Way of the Central Carolinas and a former board member of the Arts and Science Council. Graeme and his family have been significant leaders and contributors to the YMCA. If you were to go to the university area, you would see the Keith family YMCA. Because of his leadership and service, in 1992, Governor Martin awarded Graeme the Order of the Longleaf Pine. This is the most prestigious award that can be given by the state of North Carolina to one of its citizens. So this is a pretty awe-inspiring list. But that's really, to me, the most impressive thing. I think Graeme is a beacon of leadership who's been guided by God to serve others. He is absolutely devoted to his family, and he was the perfect match to Gloria, his beloved wife of 63 years. When I gave the news to Graeme last week that he was going to receive this award, he very modestly looked down, and I think it speaks volumes what he said. He said, you know, Ken, when you become an Eagle Scout, it's something you have to try to achieve the rest of your life. Well, Graeme, you have. You certainly have. And so I am proud tonight, and I would like all of you to join me in welcoming the Mecklenburg County Council's Eagle Alumni of the Year, my friend Graeme Keith.
Thank you all very, very much. When I had that conversation with Ken Bewley about a week ago, he said, "You planning on going to the Scout Leadership Dinner?" I said, "Well, yeah, I was thinking about it, and I definitely would like to go because I want to congratulate my good friend Casey Crawford for receiving the honor that he's going to receive that night." And but Ken, I wonder where you got all of that information. I felt like I was at my own funeral. Needless to say, I was very surprised last week about this honor tonight. And however, tonight is not about me. Tonight is about all of those scouts out there with their parents and their leaders that work with them. That's what tonight's about. And I just hope that most of them are climbing that ladder to achieve that Eagle Scout Award. You don't ever forget that. I can vividly remember when my mother pinned the Eagle badge on my uniform in the First Presbyterian Church in Greenwood, South Carolina. This was unquestionably, I think, the first honor that I ever achieved, and it's one that I'll never forget. It's incredibly important for you to always just try to as long as you're living as an Eagle Scout, to try to achieve what the Scout honor tells you about. And I remember vividly also all of those merit badges that I had to get, and how many times my mother had to take me in the car because I couldn't drive to get those merit badges. And I just want to say to all of you scouts that are here tonight, don't give up. You're going to receive a lot of help from people like your Scoutmaster, your mom and dad, friends of yours who have already achieved the Eagle Award, and God will help you too if you ask Him. So I want to thank you all for being here tonight, but you're here to recognize all of these scouts and just show your appreciation for what they mean and will mean in the future to this city and this community. Obviously, when they told me about this award, I was humbled and very, very grateful for this recognition. So let me just say to all of you, may God's richest blessing be with each and every one of you always. Thank you very much.